My name's Ben Saunders, I'm a polar explorer, and this is my journey. I've been leading polar expeditions for nearly a decade, and it's been a pretty unusual career path. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I got into it. I've always loved the outdoors. I think my first trip to the Lake District was as a school kid. And to me, all the exciting and inspiring stuff happened outdoors, and the wilder the surroundings, the happier I was, really. I loved reading about mostly contemporary stuff. It was people like Sir Ranulph Fiennes and Chris Bonnet, and I loved reading books about sailors and explorers. It was only sort of later on that I started reading about the Wardian area, the Scots and Shackletons and Amundsens, and some incredibly inspiring stories. So I guess that's where the seed was sown. We're here in the Lake District. We're heading towards Scafell Pike, which is really the birthplace of the British rock climbing and mountaineering scene as we know it today. We're staying at the Wasdale Head Inn, which is an incredible place and lined with photos from that sort of Edwardian era of adventure and exploration, and ropes and wood handle ice axes and hobnail boots. So it's a place that has a real sense of heritage when it comes to adventure. On my first polar expedition back in 2001, there were two of us for 2 months, 59 days. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. We'd misjudged our nutrition, so we were pretty hungry. In fact, it got to a point where we had to agree that we wouldn't talk about food. I had frostbite in a toe very early on. We were attacked by a polar bear on day 2. We were also slower than we anticipated, so we didn't get to the pole, came back to zero fame or recognition. At the time it seemed like hellish suffering, but looking back it was a good tough apprenticeship. So we're heading up Scafell Pike, which is a decent day's walk. It's certainly not an expedition, so we won't be needing a lot of this kit. I've got, in fact, this is the sledge harness that I've used for a couple of years. This was custom made for me back in 2008. I've also got a sleeping bag here. This is one that I'll use in Antarctica. It's, I think, one of the lightest down sleeping bags on the market at the moment. So I'm a bit of a kit geek, but I guess my life depends on a lot of this stuff, so it's quite important. Won't be needing it today, however, I will in my trusty walking boots, and I will probably need waterproof. The expedition I'm most proud of was skiing solo to the North Pole in 2004. 10 weeks on the ice, took me 72 days on my own. I travelled just over 1,000 kilometres, the same as 31 marathons back to back. I was pulling 180 kilos. That's like 2 full-grown rugby players in a bathtub. When I got to the pole, I was the only human being in 5.4 million square miles, which is 1.5 times the size of America. The morning that I was dropped off by helicopter was, I think, probably the hardest point of that entire trip. Seeing the helicopter take off again and the reality of my situation sinking in was really difficult. I'd been so busy that I hadn't really taken much time to step back, and it hit me, and the only thing I can remember was having to stop myself, running up to the helicopter, banging on the doors and saying, "Look guys, actually I haven't thought this through." Mentally, there were enormous highs and lows on this big solo expedition. I can't remember a day that was okay or not too bad. It was either best day of my life, this is something I dreamt about, or it was worst day ever, please let me fall over and break my leg so I can get picked up with my pride intact. So enormous highs and lows, and of course there's no one there to help pull you through it. The transition, getting home from these big trips, is always pretty strange, and it's almost like watching TV where everything is turned up in too far. The volume and the colour and the brightness and the smell, everything is overwhelming. One of the things I love about the Lake District is that it's so accessible. I think many British adventurers and mountaineers cut their teeth here, and there could be a kid on the hill in front of us who one day goes on to break some of the records I've set. This is a really stunning landscape, and I think every journey should end in a place like this.